it doesn't light you up, it won't sell. And that is your sign to shift things in your business. Hi, I'm your host, Maggie Olson. I'm your business mentor, your human design expert, and the creator of the Magnetic Method Designed to Convert formula. I help women entrepreneurs just like you simplify their strategy, align their sales with their energy, and finally build a business that feels like freedom, not like pressure. After nearly 2 decades in entrepreneurship, I have learned that success isn't actually about doing more. It's about aligning with what already works for you, tapping into your natural energy. And here on the Chaos to Clarity podcast, we're going to blend human design with practical business strategy to help you attract clients naturally, sell with confidence, and grow with ease. So if you're ready to design a business that lights you up, converts with clarity, and learn more about working with me inside of the Magnetic Method mentorship and all of my other programs, you're going to find the link to all of that in the show notes, and you're going to find all of that information here on the podcast. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Chaos to Clarity podcast. My name is Maggie. I am your business mentor, your human design expert, and the host of this podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about inconsistent leads today. I know that is such a common pain point for so many entrepreneurs. And I just want to say that if you are experiencing inconsistency in your leads and in your sales, you're not alone, okay? And even I still today, after nearly 2 decades of, being in business, I sometimes experience this as well. But here's the thing. Today, I'm going to share with you some things you can do so that you don't get into the inconsistency loop. And, I just also want to say that now, nearly 2 decades into my business and entrepreneurship career, I notice a lot sooner when I'm falling, quote unquote, victim to the inconsistency loop, I'll call it, right? So I start to notice some of the thoughts, some of the things that I'll say, and that really cues me in to being like, okay, I see what is happening, and I'm just going to gently redirect myself. I'm going to gently guide myself to a better thought process, a better nurturing process, a better connection process. So, I just want to say, if you're in that inconsistency loop and you're thinking like, oh man, there's just no, the market is oversaturated, there are no leads, I have no leads coming in, I want you to really, first of all, take a step back and notice those thoughts that you're thinking, because honestly, so often in business, when you're thinking those thoughts, you're also saying those things out loud. And that is something that, when you start thinking that and then you start saying it, it starts becoming a reality. And that is where I want you to really start to redirect your thoughts. Okay. And get curious. And if anything, in all of my studies of everything, right? Business, human design, yoga, photography, when I worked in corporate, understanding and learning the machines that were being built there, it's, when you're starting to see those inconsistencies and you're like, oh, I think I may have fallen off the bandwagon. It's okay to, number one, verbalize it, but number two, to be able to stand up and say, okay, I realize I'm doing this and I'm not putting up with my own bullshit anymore. And I'm going to hop back on the train and we're going to get right back into it. Now, that also doesn't necessarily, change the thoughts immediately, but it's that curiosity of like, okay, I'm going to, redirect my thoughts. I'm going to redirect what I'm currently thinking, and I'm going to start to shift and get curious. What would happen if I thought this thought instead? What would happen if I did this action instead? Or maybe, and this is a common one, And then I'm going to get into 3 things you can do to help have consistent leads, right? So if you find yourself thinking, yeah, okay, like that's all well and good for me to try and change my thoughts, but there's still that underlying thought of, like, yeah, you're inconsistent. And now you're telling yourself you're not going to be inconsistent, but like that little subconscious voice going, yeah, but what if you're still inconsistent, right? And consistency and inconsistency, they really get a bad rap because my consistency doesn't necessarily look like your consistency. And this is why when you work with me, we figure out, well, what does consistency mean to me? Does that mean messaging 25 people every single day of the week until I fill my sales calls? Or does that mean messaging maybe 1 or 2 new people per day? 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, any amount of time, right? Like, what does consistency mean for me, for you? And, I would love for you to answer that question for yourself, but also feel free to send me a DM, right? Slide into my DMs on Instagram. You can find me at Maggie Lynn, Lynn, mentoring, or at the Chaos to Clarity podcast. Let me know what consistency is for you because I'm super curious. So we know if you've listened to a bunch of the Chaos to Clarity podcast episodes, at least within the last year, you'll know that I'm a manifesting generator. And that typically means I have a lot of things going on a lot of the time, right? So it's nothing new to me to be inconsistent because that's just part of my nature. However, I will say that when I developed the system that I use and that I teach to people, and that's literally messaging 1 to 3 people every single day, new people, right? And also continuing the conversation with 1 to 3 people who are already in my inbox, whether that is a checkup on somebody to say, hey, I know we talked a while ago last week. I just want to know, how are you doing? Did you get the question answered that we were talking about? Did you go and find the resource that I gave you? How is that thing working? So nurturing people, right? Coming back to people and basically being like, I haven't forgot about you. I still care about you, right? That nurture sequence. And I will say the more you do it, the easier it gets. So if it feels kind of slimy and weird and kind of salesy, but not salesy, and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, keep going, keep doing it. And you will start to see, you'll start to see the fruits of your labor pay off. And, just like with riding a bike, just like with walking, you have to be willing to get a little bit uncomfortable, sometimes a lot of bit uncomfortable in your business in order to make the steps forward. Because at the end of the day, if business were quote unquote comfortable, everyone would be doing it. We'd all be making $1 million like per day, right? Like, and we wouldn't be here. So if you're not willing to get a little bit uncomfortable and try things on and get curious, you might have to rethink how you're doing business. So let's get to the point of the podcast, right? 3 things you can do to help your inconsistency. Now, I already talked about one, and that is making it a point to connect with people every single day, 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. I would say I average probably 4 days a week for doing that kind of connection, where I'm going through my friends list, either on Instagram or Facebook, going into a group, the groups that, I am an admin of, and, picking a couple people to say, hey, Susie, in my Facebook group, I know you're in my Facebook group. I just want to check in and see, how are you doing? Are you enjoying the Facebook group? Or if you're following me on Instagram, sending you a message to say, hey, thank you so much for following me on Instagram. I'm curious, what is a post of mine that you've seen recently that really resonated with you? And a lot of times I will do this specifically when I've seen people liking or commenting. I'll go to my feed and I will look at who's been liking, who's been commenting, and I'll just simply send them a message to say, hey, I see you. And I just wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you and how can I serve you better? And that is really how you start to, number one, make your like value and education content crisper, right? That's how you hone in that content, is by having those conversations so that you know what the people following you want, but also that is how you start to nurture people and understand, okay, where are they at in their business? Can I help them? Do I have a connection that could help them grow? Am I someone who can help them grow, right? So that's the first thing you can do if you're feeling like you have inconsistent leads. Go and check out your friends list. Because even if you only have like 10, 20, 50 followers, that's 50 people, right? 10 people, 50 people, 100 people that you can have a conversation with, that you can go to and be like, okay, here's what I'm doing. I need some feedback. And now if you bring human design into this, depending on your type, that's going to help you understand your type and your strategy are going to help you understand how you communicate and how you can really respond, right? For lack of better terms. Now, I say this as a manifesting generator whose strategy is to respond. Okay. So now if you're listening to this and you're a projector and you're like, yeah, but like my strategy says to wait for the invitation. So here's the thing. Your interpretation of your strategy is what's the most important. So if you're a projector and you're like, my strategy says I have to wait for the invitation, and you're literally just sitting back doing nothing, you're probably not going to get an invitation because the collective we aren't going to know you exist. So you have to make an effort to put yourself out there. Now, that can be more than just simply posting on social media. So for instance, if you're a projector and you're like, okay, I want to make the most out of the energy that I have, because projectors don't have the same amount of energy as a manifesting generator. So if you want to make the most out of that, for projectors, quite honestly, and this is what I tell my clients all the time, is that you can utilize Facebook groups. And I tell this to everybody, right? You can use the different social media platforms in different ways. Now, this is not me telling you to go out and be on all the different social medias. No, I want you to find the one that resonates the most. Now, if you're a projector, you're on Facebook, make sure you're in specific Facebook groups that contain your ideal client, because that is going to help you understand how you are going to receive an invitation to work together, right? Or an invitation to continue to open the door. Now, if you want a very niche down example of this. So say you're a projector, say you're on Facebook, you're in a group that is specific to your niche. You post in there, I have a freebie. Who wants the freebie? Now, obviously you're going to have to finesse that wording to be specific to whoever you want to do that, right? So now you've posted, who wants my freebie? Raise your hand or drop an emoji in the comments. Now, everyone who comments on that is sending you an invitation to say, hey, yes, I want that thing from you. Okay, so that is your cue to be able to go then into the comments and say, great, person A, I would love to send you this freebie. Can I send you a DM? And now you're getting into the response, because remember, most people, right, like 75, I think, % of the world, we are responders, right? We are not necessarily an initiator. We are not necessarily wait for an invitation or reflect. Okay. So I just want you to think about that, because that is something that you have to understand what that client journey looks like, what you're comfortable with. And again, this is something that I help my clients do. Okay, so number 2, if you're experiencing inconsistent leads, I would also encourage you to go to a networking meeting. And as you go to a networking meeting, I would also encourage you to understand, what is your goal for the networking meeting? Are you there to gain rapport? Are you there to connect with people? Are you there to get more leads? Like, what is the thing that you're there for? Now, if you are going to a networking meeting to get more leads, I would encourage you to reevaluate that. Not because it's not possible, because it absolutely is possible, especially if your ideal client is going to that networking meeting. But I also want to say, sometimes it can feel very salesy, both for the people in the meeting and for the person who's talking about the things, right? So understand what it is you want out of any interaction that you are going into. And a lot of times for most people, human design aside, it helps to understand how you like to buy. How do you like to be sold to? Do you like to see an advertisement and then go and check it out online and, read all the reviews and stuff like that? Or do you see something and you're like, oh, that looks cool, I'm going to need that? How do you like to buy? Because that is also how your people probably like to buy. Now, so that's the second thing, right? Going to a networking meeting and then talking about yourself, because the more you talk about yourself, the more you're going to see, oh, this feels weird and clunky to talk about. How can I finesse this? You can also ask people there, if you go on to have a coffee chat with them, can you, just for your own feedback, ask that person, could you tell me in a sentence or two what I do based on my pitch, right? And that's going to help you know where the holes in your marketing essentially are, in your copy. Because something about business that, and this is like a bonus tip, is that we're always refining how we're speaking to people, our products, our process, right? We're always refining that. And that is something that I learned when I worked at a diaper machine making factory. We were always refining the process and the product. So when you think about that in terms of your own business, you're always refining the process, which is going out, connecting with people, being seen, being heard, being understood, but also being able to have the know, like, and trust, right? You are always refining that. There is no end point, really. At least for me, 18 years in, it has not been an end point where I'm like, yep, got it in the bag. Nobody needs to know anything else. I'm always refining how I'm speaking to people, how I'm, connecting with people, where I'm connecting with people, what I'm curious about. I'm always kind of watching the trends in just entrepreneurship in general, but also in the, coaching, course creating, online service, really niche. So I would encourage you to do the same thing, right? Always be refining your product and process. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean changing things, right? I know it can be easy, and take it from me, a manifesting generator who loves to have 20 different products, but knows that she really only needs one or two, because here's the thing. When you have one or two, it gets so much easier to scale on that, because you're not scaling for 27 things. You're scaling for one or two. You're adding on and growing and combining and replacing, and that makes it so much easier. So getting into point number 3 here for inconsistent leads, are your offers where they need to be? Okay. And this is something that, oh man, so many people have asked me, and this is something that I do a ton of. It's also why I opened up my calendar for offer audits, because I was seeing so many people starting to struggle with their offer, and they weren't able to talk about their offer. So they weren't really sure what they needed or where they needed help, where the disconnect was. but also they weren't really sure how to ask for help because they didn't know. So if you don't know, it's really hard to ask. So the third point, if you're feeling inconsistent in your leads, the third thing is that, do you love your offer? Do you love the thing that you're talking about? Now, for me, I love the magnetic method. I love helping people generate more leads, generate more sales, have better conversations. That is what the magnetic method does. I combine human design with business so you have better leads, better sales, and just more money, right? So at the end of the day, I could talk about that stuff all day long. There are plenty of other areas of business that I can also help in, but leads, sales, and human design are the three that I find myself talking about the most. They're the things that I love to talk about the most. And, I'm a 1-4, okay? My profile in human design, I'm a 1-4, which means I love to learn. I love to, understand information. I love to go down rabbit holes. Like, catch me on the other side of the rabbit hole because I'm probably been down all the things. It's so fun for me. And then I also, as a 4-line, love to tell my community, which is why having a podcast, having a Facebook group as a 4-line is so important for me because I'm building the community where I can go out and I can say, hey, community, look at this cool thing. Look at this thing. Here's how you can do this. Here's how we can be better together. So, that third thing of loving your offer is something that, I talk to so many entrepreneurs who are like, oh, I guess I really don't love my offer. And that's what the offer audit that I offer for free is for. It's a chance for you to come and tell me, share with me your offer, what it is you do, who you serve, how are your leads? Are they warm, cold, hot? Are you booking things? Are you not booking? Are you booking? Are you making sales? Are you not making sales? And I don't want anyone to ever feel ashamed of not making sales because I know you're trying. I know you're doing your best. And I just want to say that sometimes raising your hand to say, okay, I need some help is sometimes it's the catalyst that will help you realize, oh, I was talking about it this way. And if I shift just a little bit and include this thing that also really lights me up, it gets so much easier to talk about. And I don't have to worry. And I don't have this anxiety hanging over my head. And I don't have all these ick factors. It gets to be simple. And I want you to remember that, right? So that offer audit is there for you to help you understand where some of those holes might be in your offer suite, in how you're talking about your offer, in where you're talking about your offer. Because something else that we talk about on the offer audit call is, where are you talking about this? How are you getting the word out about your business? And people actually, and this is, kind of the next portion of this podcast, is that you actually probably have more leads than you think. And I want to remind you of this because if you have any social media presence at all, right? 10 followers, 50 followers, 1,000, 10,000, those are people who have said yes, that they want to see your stuff regularly. So understanding and kind of keeping a pulse on who is following you, what they're doing, how they're doing things, that is also really important for you, right? It's great market research for you to know and understand, okay, here's who I have in my audience. Here are my strengths. Here are my weaknesses. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I don't want to do. Okay, that's you. It's so funny to me because I quite often, again, I will have conversations with people and they will say to me, I don't have any leads. And then, when I go to their Facebook profile or their Instagram profile or their LinkedIn profile and go, well, if you are connected with, maybe 1,000 people across 3 platforms, that's 1,000 people who you could send a message to and say, hey, hi, we're connected on this platform. I'm so excited to be connected to you. I would love to learn more about you. I would love to have a conversation with you and get to know you, get to know what you're up to, why we're connected, how we got connected, all of that, right? It also gives you a really great chance and opportunity to clean house, right? Because if there are people following you who are not, at least I guess, okay, so rewind a little bit. If you're using your social media for business purposes, right? Going and cleaning house, going through your friends list and looking at, okay, who is here? What are the commonalities? You know, are you followed by a ton of your friends? Cool, but like, do you want them to still be following you? Right? So I definitely use social media almost strictly for business, and that's okay for me. I am okay with that because then I am less likely to doom scroll as much. So take that into consideration, especially if you find yourself saying, I hate social media. Like, you don't have to be on social media. It's a convenient way, yes, but it's also designed to keep you on the platform. So, you know, like, think about that. And that is something going deeper into like, okay, where do I actually want to show up? That is something that we go through in the magnetic method mentoring. And, you know, I help you figure out, okay, what platforms do I want to be on? What platforms do I want to focus on? How do I want to get my words, my message out? Is it in person? Is it YouTube? Is it a blog? Is it an email newsletter? Like, what is it? Is it networking? How does that work? And what peace of mind do I want out of that? And that is a really important, you know, I would say kind of end to this is that you have more leads than you think. And you can show up wherever you want, right? You can go and do these things, and it's never been easier to do now, but you have to be able to stand out in the crowd. So having an offer that you love, not being afraid to talk to your community. Now, if you have an undefined throat, that might feel hard for you. And again, that's where the magnetic mentoring the magnetic method mentoring comes in. I help you with all those things, right? I have a defined throat. I have a defined G center. I have a defined sacral. And between those three centers being defined, I feel very confident in myself. I love to talk. You know, like I am connected to me. I know who I am, and I have the sacral drive. Now, that's not to say if you don't have those three defined that you cannot do what I'm doing, because you absolutely can. Human design aside, I believe you can do whatever it is you want to do, right? And I am here to be your cheerleader. I'm here to lift you up. I'm here to celebrate with you. And I'm also here to help guide you. So that is why I created the magnetic method mentorship, because I know you are meant for more. I know you have what it takes to create the client list that you want, to create the income that you want, to create the offers that you want, to have a business that runs seamlessly, to have a business where you are so excited to wake up in the morning. I want that for you. I mean, I also want it for myself, but like, I want it for you. And that's why I created the magnetic method mentoring is for that, right? And yes, it's a lot of M's. I love a good alliteration, but it's also a mouthful. Anyway, that is it for today. So again, just like I said in the beginning of the episode, go ahead and book in an offer audit. It is free. It's free 99. You need it because let's face it, if you're listening to this, you're probably inconsistent with your leads and sales and maybe conversations. And I want to help you with that. I want to help you have better conversations, make more sales, and have a lead pool where you're like, where you're able to put an offer out and people are like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Sign me up. I want that for you. So make sure you slide into my DMs. Let me know what resonated here, what you took away here. Again, you can find me on Instagram at Maggie Lynn, LYNN mentoring, or at the Chaos to Clarity podcast. And I will see you in the next episode.